Dean and Tyler Listle are registered investment advisor representatives. Investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, and Secure Retirement Solutions, LLC are not affiliated companies.
It's time for Secure Retirement Solutions with your hosts, Dean and Tyler Listle, fully licensed retirement specialists from Secure Retirement Solutions in Green Bay. Now, here are your hosts, Dean and Tyler.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Tyler and I will discuss topics that affect your retirement, such as investments, income planning, Social Security, and much more. How are you this morning, Tyler?
Good morning, Dean. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Great, thank you. Today we're going to be talking about what are the biggest retirement surprises. There was an article done by U.S. News, and they talked about some of the surprises that people run into when they retire, unexpected surprises. And what we're going to do is we are going to talk about some of those things and how to combat them, or at least recognize them when they come up, and also how to plan for some of them. And the number one biggest surprise for those people looking to retire are unexpected expenses. And in today's world, what we see mostly when it comes to unexpected expenses happens to be around health care. Unfortunately, we see a lot of people that are incurring some substantial premiums right now, and they need to plan around it. Even though the current administration wants to address health care, we are still in a situation where we're under the Affordable Care Act. Your premiums are based on your income. So as financial advisors, we need to look at where you draw income in order to hopefully affect in a positive way of reducing your premiums. So in addition to unexpected expenses, Tyler, what are some of the other things that we should look at when it comes to those expenses in retirement?
Yeah, and Dean, as you said, unexpected expenses such as health care, it's by far the most prevalent retirement surprise. And in addition to health care, it can be anything like needing a new roof, or your car breaks down, you need a new car or car part. So it can be a variety of different things. And the number one thing that we recommend in order to combat those unexpected expenses, or at least get those accounted for, is to, number one, create a written budget. And you can do that. You can write it out, type it up online, but you want to have a budget where you can keep track of all your expenses. So you first start with your fixed expenses, your mortgage, your food, your phone, internet, TV bills, your utilities, all your fixed expenses. But you don't want to stop there. Then you also want to have a little section where you account for, we call it variable expenses. And variable expenses are the unexpected expenses like healthcare, a new roof, appliances, car problems, different things like that you can budget in every month, even though you may not need to use them. But then over time, variable expenses are going to creep up a few times per year. So you want to have variable expenses within your budget. And the other thing, too, is you want to have necessary emergency funds. So what I mean by that is at least usually 3 to 6 months of living expenses in savings, and that can be used to pay for these unexpected expenses that arise, whether it be health care, new roof, new car, appliances, whatever that may be. The other thing, too, is you're also going to want to have at least a portion of liquid investments within your retirement accounts in case of large emergencies. So you want to have, and what I mean by that is investments that are readily accessible, can easily be accessed and converted into cash without any substantial penalties or fees to do that. So at least a portion you want to have liquid in case you do have to dip into your retirement funds for an unexpected expense. And we've seen it happen quite often where clients come in and they have a retirement plan all set in stone, and we even help them get a retirement plan ready. But one simple unexpected expense, it can completely derail a retirement plan just like that. So you always want to have flexibility with that and prepare for the unexpected expenses, because that's the biggest retirement surprise there is, with healthcare being number one.
Okay, and in addition to creating a budget, when we see people come in, a lot of times they've done the hard work. They put together a basic budget. One of the things they tend to forget, though, is it's a budget based on their current needs and not future needs. So as an example, if you're retired and you're 62 years old and you have budget for health insurance, that's fine. But remember, at 65, you'll be going on to Medicare, and in many situations, you need to reflect that in a budget, whether your expenses go up because you're going on to Medicare or go down because you're going on to Medicare or Medicare supplement. Also, you need to take into consideration some future needs, such as you're probably going to need a new vehicle at some particular time or another vehicle, or maybe a roof on the house. So those are some of the things that we look at a budget and say, okay, 14 or 15 years out, we're going to have to budget for either a car or a new roof or something like that. So put together a budget. If you don't know how to put together a budget, meet with a financial advisor, have them put one together for you. We will create a budget for anybody who comes through our door. It's complimentary, and it'll help you keep you on the straight and narrow, I guess. The second thing when it comes to biggest retirement surprises, the one that we see next would be delaying investment decisions. We have some people who just delay getting involved with their corporate retirement plan, which Tyler and that's one thing that bothers us a lot, especially if you have a match going on in your 401k or 403b. We have a client who's 39 years old. She is a professional, and she makes a very good salary of over $100,000 a year and has been making a good salary ever since she graduated from college at 22 years old. So at 22 years old, she graduated, went into a professional position, and she's 39 now and still hasn't started her 401k that her company's been offering with a 3% match. So all of that potential compounding interest in wealth that she could have been accumulating since 22 hasn't happened. So we always say, though, it's never too late. But of course, when we get together with her, we push as hard as we possibly can to get her involved with investing at this point. The other thing, too, when it comes to investment decisions and delaying them, some people right now will try to time the market or buy the dips. And seriously, folks, if you are that good at timing the market and buying the dips, you probably need a different profession in the financial world, because some of the biggest mistakes made with retirees and investors is just that, timing the market. Now, Tyler and I have a saying in the office, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, which is important. And buying the dips, I am not sure when it came out, but Fidelity did a story and a survey to find out since 2008 till the end of 2016, they surveyed people who tried to time the market and stay away from those worst days in the market and invest when it was best suited in buying the dips. And they found out that their portfolios were significantly less than those people who just dollar cost averaged. Whenever they got paid, they would invest. Okay, so we advocate dollar cost averaging. Of course, we would like to buy the dips. Some of that is done in portfolios, but I guess when you look at everything, don't try to time the market, just get in the market. Tyler, anything else there?
Exactly. Good points there, Dean. Just a couple things I have to add on that. And you said, you definitely don't want to delay investment decisions in terms of you contributing each and every month and each and every year. You want to get involved and get enrolled in your employer plan as soon as you can. But then you also want to make sure that your portfolio ages as you do, so to speak. And what I mean by that is when you're early on in your employment, when you're in 30s, 40s, even into 50s, you want to focus on accumulation. That's the accumulation phase where you want to try and grow your money as much as you can. During that time, we recommend investments that do carry a higher risk. And reason being is because you're so young yet, you have time on your side. You can afford to be in the market when it goes up and down. And really, we encourage you to add more when it goes down because you're buying low at that time and you have such a long time horizon. So we recommend that you be pretty aggressive within your accounts when you're early to try and accumulate, focus on growth investments, and then shift more towards preservation and income as you head closer to retirement. So you always want to make sure that your portfolio is aging with you and you're slowly going from more aggressive to more conservative over time. So definitely don't delay those investment decisions. The other thing here is Roth conversions at an earlier age. So that's when you have an old 401k or an IRA and you pay the taxes up front, convert it to a Roth, and then it grows tax-free every year thereafter. So Roth conversions is another thing there.
Okay. If you're just tuning in, I'm Dean Listle. I'm here with Tyler Listle. We're financial advisors. We're talking about the biggest retirement surprises. If you have any questions about our topics today or would like to get a hold of us, we're located at Secure Retirement Solutions, 3040 Allied Street in Green Bay. You can go to our website at srsplans.com and get our contact information, or call us at 920-347-9888. Okay, a couple other things here. We're going to talk about timing your retirement. For some people, when we talk to them about retirement, they have a firm date. And I don't know why it is, but many times it's their birth date. Mm-hmm. People like to retire on their birth date. But for those people who have a real firm day when they want to retire, that's good. They have a goal. But if your goal is not working, let's say you need another year's worth of income, or you need to defer your Social Security one more year in order to make the numbers work, why not put that day off and try to make sure that you retire at a time that is going to help you for the rest of your life once you do retire? The other thing, too, with timing your retirement is make sure that you're ready to retire. If you enjoy your job and the people you're around, you probably shouldn't retire, okay? Part of the reason is if you retire too early and you're not used to not having those people around and the camaraderie, chances are you probably can't go back to that employer and say, I made a mistake, I'd like to come back and work again. Chances are you won't get the job back. So making sure that you're timing your retirement, don't be so firm that the finances don't work. Be a little bit flexible. Sometimes it's actually retiring earlier, too. Tyler, What else am I missing here when it comes to timing your retirement?
Yeah, and really, Dean, many people who do set a retirement date, they don't end up retiring on that date due to a few things such as forced early retirement. And oftentimes people are forced to retire earlier than they had planned due to different things such as health issues is number one. Number two is where the company may look to go in a different direction. They may look to get younger or downsize, whatever it may be, and force them into retirement by terminating them. So oftentimes people who set that retirement date, they don't end up retiring on that date anyway. So you want to make sure that you have a financial plan that's flexible and can be easily updated to reflect the various changes that may happen in your retirement situation. And one other thing with that too, keep in mind, if you like your job and you can afford to put off retiring, even working part-time would definitely be beneficial. And keep in mind too that Social Security, if you delay retirement, you could possibly delay taking your Social Security, and that grows from 62 till your full retirement age, which is 66 or 67, grows by about 6% per year every year that you delay it. Then from 66 to 67, so your full retirement age until 70, it grows by about 8% per year that you delay. And every year that you delay retiring, your investments will hopefully grow as well based on the market and your allocations and stuff like that. So keep in mind, too, every year that you do delay retiring, your investments and Social Security benefit will grow as well. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, before we go on to the next big retirement surprise, we're going to take a quick break.
You're listening to Dean and Tyler Listle, investment advisors with Secure Retirement Solutions located on Allied Street in Green Bay. For a complimentary review of your current investments, or if you have questions, please call them at 920-347-9888 or go to their website at srsplans.com.
Okay, the next surprise we're going to talk about is playing it too safe. As we get older, it's very common for those people looking to retire and currently in retirement to get very, very, very safe with their investments. That one we typically see a lot. Some people go the opposite direction, though, too. They try to catch lightning in a bottle. They panic a little bit thinking that they need more money, so they get too aggressive with their portfolio. We don't like to see either one. But let's address, playing it too safe at this point. What we do to make it real simple, if you can envision 3 buckets that you put your investment money into when you retire. The first bucket is the foundation for your retirement money. That's called safety. Second bucket is income, and the third bucket is growth. So when we look at safety, this is the premise for the rest of your money. You need to have some of your fixed income in there. Fixed income is Social Security. Fixed income is a pension. Okay, a lot of people don't have a pension. So what we see a lot right now is some people will use annuity products and trigger it as your own personal pension to last a lifetime. So that's an option. But other items and investments that go into safety buckets could be municipal bonds, they could be treasuries, it could be cash situations. So that is the foundation. The next bucket of money is income, okay? So after you have the safety address, you go on to income and address that. What you have in there are investments that generate dividends or interest that can be rerouted into your checking account that you can use on a monthly basis to live off of. Here you like to see bond positions that generate interest going into that account. You like to see also dividend-producing blue-chip stock positions. So that would be a lot of the investments that you have in the income bucket. And then the last one would be growth, where you're looking at probably your riskiest situations. Typically, risk goes with growth. It does not mean, though, that you have to take risk beyond your risk tolerance. If you are a conservative investor, we can still get some growth in there without going beyond your conservative risk analysis. And in the growth bucket, you'll typically see things like stocks and so on. So those are some of the things we need to look at playing it too safe. Tyler, what else do we want to address when we look at a portfolio that starts to become too safe and some of the pitfalls that we have with it?
Yeah, playing it too safe in retirement is something that we see from a lot of clients, especially those that have been retired for a few years. And really, we all need income in retirement. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to retire. So, but with that said, most retirees are going to have their Social Security benefits, maybe even a pension, and then their retirement funds as well. Now, many people who are retired, ideally, they would like to protect their principal and only live off the interest that their investments provide. So if they have interest from money market accounts, CDs, short-term fixed annuities, whatever that may be, it's almost impossible to live off only the interest. Reason being is because right now we live in a very low interest rate world. So in order to live off that interest, you have to have a very large portfolio. So really, living off the interest right now with interest rates being so low, that's kind of out of the question. So now what we have to do is along the lines of what you said, Dean. We have to diversify the portfolio so we have the safety, income, and growth buckets. And that way we have safe investments, we have income-producing investments, and we have growth-oriented investments. Now, the income-producing, that may be different types of bonds that pay out interest in the form of income, and then also fixed annuities and different types of annuities too with riders can pay out income. And then your growth-oriented investments, that might be single stocks or different stock mutual funds or exchange-traded funds that provide the growth portion. And it's safe to say that if you play it too safe, you won't be able to outpace inflation or taxes. They, over time, will eat away at your portfolio if you play it too safe. And then keep in mind, if you do have a diversified portfolio, you will have to dip into your principal at times, and it may be uncomfortable initially, but it does help extend your money by having at least an allocation to higher return investments such as stocks, stock mutual funds, or stock-based exchange-traded funds. So really, playing it too safe is a retirement surprise for many, and you want to make sure you have a diversified portfolio. You have your safety, your income, and your growth buckets.
Okay, and remember, those buckets don't have to be the same percentage. For instance, if you have enough retirement funds that you can cover your expenses and still have some play money that meet your needs, we can get safer there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you might have 50% of your assets in the safe bucket versus the income and growth. On the flip side, we have some people that just might not be able to keep up with inflation. We are going to have to get a little bit more growth in there. So we look at each individual person's situation, their debt situation, and how much money they've accumulated at that point before we determine how much should go in each of those buckets. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about as far as a surprise is people do not figure in inflation correctly when they retire. They say, here's how much money I have. Mathematically, they'll sit down with a calculator and say, here's how long it'll last based on this particular amount that I draw down. But they don't take into account either the growth percentage in the portfolio or, more importantly, the inflation, which will erode your buying power as you get older. Now, according to USinflationcalculator.com, the current 10-year inflation rate is about 1.75%, and the 100-year average inflation rate is about 3.15%. So currently, at today's rate, we are putting anywhere from 2 to 2.75% inflation into your financial models And what that means is each and every year you have the potential that your expenses could go up 2 to 2.75%. Okay. Also, your money is susceptible to inflation. Inflation brings up your expenses and brings down your buying power of your money. Tyler, what else am I missing there when it comes to inflation?
Yeah, Dean, as you mentioned, inflation, it can definitely eat away at a very conservative portfolio over time. And right now, with interest rates being so low, rather quickly, it can eat away at a portfolio. So, if you have, Dean, you mentioned the inflation rates, the current 10-year average about 1.75% and the 100-year average 3.15% per year. So we model out our financial plans with inflation being about anywhere from 2 to 3% per year. And if you have retirement funds and very conservative CDs or even money market accounts, then you're actually losing money over time due to inflation based on current interest rates, because those short-term interest rates on CDs and money market accounts can't even keep up with the pace of inflation. So that's why, again, you want to have a diversified portfolio and factor in inflation. And here's a statistic that I have here. If you retire today and withdrew $2,500 per month from investments, so that's $30,000 per year, in 20 years, so 20 years from now at recent inflation rates, that $2,500 per month or $30,000 per year would be equal to about $1,500 per month or $18,000 per year in 20 years. So again, that just shows the same amount today in 20 years is going to be less based on inflation. So you always want to make sure that you have your portfolio positioned in a way that can combat inflation over time.
Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is one that we see an awful lot today, and that's falling victim to fraud. There's a lot of fraud out there. There's a lot of identity theft. And to bring this to light, I had a client just last week call me up, very upset. He said, Dean, he's an elderly client. He said, Dean, I received a call from the IRS. They said they're going to start garnishing my Social Security wages unless I pay some back taxes that's due from 10 years ago. And I said, well, what action did they ask for? And he said, well, I need to pay the amount, and I also need to give them my Social Security number so they can properly identify me. And I asked him what he did. And he said, well, I told him I needed to speak to my financial advisor and they can call me back. So he hung up, gave me a call. I informed him the very first thing he needs to do is call the police, okay, and report that so they can pursue it. That is, potentially something that's way beyond what we can do, of course. So he got a hold of the police. Secondly, is the IRS is not going to call you up and tell you something like that. They're not going to email you and tell you something like that. They are going to send you a first-class letter if they need to get a hold of you. Mm-hmm. And then the form that they send it on, you're going to take that information. You're going to go to your tax advisor who does your taxes and ask them if this is legitimate. And there you're going to get some direction. So first of all, there's a lot of fraud out there right now. We tend to think that everybody should have a subscription to some sort of identity theft protection plan. It's almost a way of life right now. To us, it's just like buying homeowners insurance or auto insurance. You need to have it. You put it in place when you don't need it, so it's there when you do need it. So get some of that identity theft protection. It's very important to have. Part of the reason is it's not necessarily everybody's worried about having their investments and or bank accounts drained because of fraud or identity theft. That is real and it's very important, and we have a concern with that. But more concerning is somebody getting your personal information and creating an identity using your date of birth, your name, and your Social Security number, just those three items, and then incurring costs for the next 10 or 15 years. So if you go get an identity theft protection plan, they can't prevent these things from happening, but they can identify when some unusual activities are happening. But most importantly, they also have an insurance policy that's built in that'll help you recover your identity due to the cost of legal fees and some of the other actions out there, which, by the way, that is where the real expense comes in, and that is getting your own identity back. Tyler, what else am I missing here? Yeah,
falling victim to fraud is definitely a big surprise for many people who are retired today. And as everyone knows, there's many different forms of fraud going on today. Probably the most well-known one right now, credit reporting breaches such as Equifax breach. Everyone knows about that. Online scams, phone scams, internet pop-ups, just to name a few. But there's a ton of different forms of fraud going on. And as we get older, our cognitive abilities slow down, whether we want to believe it or not. So that automatically makes elderly people more susceptible to fraud and different types of scams like that. So really what you can do to protect yourself from that is to keep an eye out for anything that seems fishy or suspicious, whether it's a phone call, an email, a text message, internet pop-up, online scam, anything like that, that different types. And it also helps track down the source of fraud if you do fall victim to it. And one more thing I want to add with that is that, they're not very expensive at all. Many of them can be purchased for $75 a year for a single person, or for a married couple, $140 to $150 a year in one payment that you pay it with. So really an ID theft protection plan. Check bank accounts and credit card statements and keep an eye out for any type of fishy messages, phone calls, anything like that in terms of fraudulent activity. Okay.
Now, the last one we're going to cover here with a big retirement surprise is selling your lifespan too short. People will come in and we'll create a financial model for them. They say, well, if our money will last, for the next 10 or 15 years, we should be okay. And I'll ask them, why? Do they have, an illness? How is the longevity in their family? Well, no, I just tend to think that we're only going to need it until we're, 75 or 76 years old. Unfortunately, a lot of people have that mentality that somebody else will take care of them. When you go into retirement, we try not to have that mentality affect your financial plan. We want to try to make sure that your money lasts as long as it possibly can, okay? And we address all of these needs. But right now, on average, 1 out of every 5 men currently 65 years old will live past 90. And 1 out of every 3 women currently 65 will live past 90. So it's a good news, bad news situation. Good news is we're living longer. Bad news is we need to plan our money to last longer, okay? So that's why it's very important to sit down, get a budget put together, look through a financial plan, have an advisor give some feedback on how they can have this money last your lifetime.
Good. Dean, one last thing I wanted to add with there before we wrap up here. And you said that many people will live well into their 90s, and really what we tell people is that the good thing is that people are living longer, and the bad thing is that people are living longer. And what I mean by that is no one wants their money to run out before they run out.
There you go. Okay, folks, that's all the time we have this week. See you later, and hope you'll join us again next week.
See you next week.
You've been listening to Secure Retirement Solutions with your hosts, Dean and Tyler Listle, fully licensed retirement specialists from Secure Retirement Solutions in Green Bay. To get more information from Dean and Tyler, contact them at Secure Retirement Solutions on Allied Street in Green Bay. Call 920-347-9888 or visit them at srsplans.com. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC. Member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services is not an affiliated company.